Hey everybody, this is Claire, and this is Small Joyful Things. As always, I go to thrift stores or I go to estate sales, or sometimes I buy things from Craigslist, and I'm always kind of looking for interesting things, or just things that really appeal to me, or things that I might think are vintage or have an interesting story, and then I bring them home, try and find out as much as I can about them, and then tell you guys about them. And that's something kind of interesting today. Well, I mean, I've always got interesting stuff, but like this is especially kind of interesting. This is an Italian micro-mosaic. It's essentially like it's a brooch. Okay, don't get me wrong. But this is quite small, and all these tiny little glass tiles are like microscopic. They're even smaller than that. There's a lot going on here. Okay, let's just go through it. It is 1.5 inches wide and 1.25 inches across. And I'm not gonna bother with the depth, but you can see there it's not very big. So I bought this in a thrift store for $5, and basically I picked it up because I knew about micro-mosaic brooches, and I thought that this one was a particularly nice example of it. You can see all of these little tiles here. Like these essentially are all just like, these would be like very thin rods, and essentially when they want to make a pattern, they take the rod and then just cut a slice off the end of it, and then that becomes the tile that they then fit in here. Now you can see that like each of these individual little leaves is just a single tile. It has a black core with green and then a little white on the edge. Same thing with the actual petals here. They're shaped a particular way. They have like layers of color in them. And this is kind of, I'm gonna try and focus in on the camera here. Each one of these is effectively millefiori or something. Like that would have been a single rod, you know, like a candy cane or something, and they literally just chop a slice off, and that becomes like the little star design, or flower design I should say. This one is a particularly nice brooch. It is missing exactly one of the tiny little tiles, this one right here. As well as that, like the pin itself on the back is fairly old. Like you can see that that's a very kind of simple little clasp. I would say that this is definitely vintage. I would put it probably 1950s. It is like reasonably old. The clasp I think is definitely pretty old. The setting itself is going to be brass as far as I can tell. It's going to be some kind of a copper alloy, and the actual pieces themselves are set into clay or something and kind of held in place inside this, like this little kind of tray or whatever you want to call it, with the design and everything, with this kind of extra kind of ring of brass design kind of just set on top of it. It's really interesting, and it's incredibly intricate, and it's it's just a lovely little piece. And we unfortunately have some issues with it, but I'll take you through this now. So, okay, micro-mosaics. Micro-mosaics are super interesting little things. They're basically like touristy pieces, and you can see here this is one that's very similar to the one that we've got. $77, it's amazing. Micro-mosaics in Italy definitely go back a really long time. I did find another listing of essentially one that looked almost exactly like this one here that has actually got a label of Murano on it. So there's a good chance that this is actually a Murano one as well. And there was the label on that particular one of almost identical style and identical quality, I should say. That one there's a paper label. It could very easily have come off this one, so make it that what you will. But micro-mosaics usually have a lot of floral stuff, especially the ones from like the 1950s onwards kind of thing. They're very much touristy kind of pieces. And they're a lot of the time they come in these oval brooches. You can get others, you can get like rings, and you can sometimes get earrings and necklaces. I think the rings are definitely the most, like the rarest ones that you can get, and certainly be the most valuable. So this one is just kind of, it's nice, but it's not like, it's not going to be, it's not like hundreds of dollars nice. It's just, $70 nice. Now they really are nice. And like, if you're into vintage jewelry, this is definitely vintage. This definitely has a kind of a style, going on with it. And yeah, there's a problem. And the problem is this, and it is bronze disease. So when I got this, I brought it home and I looked at it and I realized that there was a ring just next to the blue. There's a very thick ring of this kind of, I say, a very light green gunk. I cleaned it off, okay, because obviously you want to make sure that your U-piece is actually clean. And I was still worried about it because, you know, something that this seems like something I should know about. And I ended up doing quite a bit of research on verdigris and, you know, what kind of corrosion you could expect of a bronze piece like this. And what I found is essentially this thing, bronze disease. And the long and short of it is that essentially when something gets wet with like seawater or something that has chlorides in it, it starts decomposing the bronze. And it doesn't have to be like bronze specifically. This is brass, and it is obviously an alloy of copper. This is just as susceptible as bronze disease as actual bronze. And this is pretty nasty stuff. It essentially starts to decompose the metal. And this is the same problem as glass disease. Its treatment is, you know, almost impossible. It's not effective, and just being around atmospheric water can start off the process again. You might clean it and get the gunk out and stop it entirely, but if you have a humid day, the metal will just start decomposing again. It's such a shame. There's a bunch of stuff here. If you're curious about the actual chemistry of it, like I'll link this below and you can take a look. It's nasty. There are active efforts of museums trying to combat this stuff because obviously it can completely destroy copper artifacts. And it's definitely a problem with micro-mosaics. This is one here that was put up on Collectors Weekly. Someone was asking about this, and you can see, especially here, you can see this green fuzz showing up around here. Yeah, that really sucks. There's a little bit around here as well. It is the exact same color. It is nasty. There's things that you can do to try and fix it. You would essentially have to get a small pick and kind of just dig out all of the gunk and then clean it, and then, you know, leave it in a bag with desiccant for like weeks at a time and hope that you could still got it all out, and you still probably won't succeed. I'm really disappointed, and it's a lovely, lovely piece, but I can't in good conscience sell it knowing that, like, I can't sell it just and say, look, you know, it's probably got bronze disease and, you know, you're going to have to keep it completely dry, because if you get it in any way wet at all, it's just going to start decomposing again. It's harsh. I'm pretty sure that a collector is going to, you know, will buy it for, you know, nothing and will care enough to kind of preserve it. That's not me, though. This is probably going to be going back to the thrift store, and, you know, hopefully it'll go to a collector who's going to buy it for, you know, as much as I paid for it, which is just like $5, and they won't care that it's got issues like that. I don't know. It's a shame. It's very nice that I got to see it, and I'm certainly kind of pleased to be able to examine this in person. And I'll take it as a bonus that I actually learned about bronze disease, and I'll know to look for it now in future, that this is maybe something that I should really be avoiding because it can be so damaging to vintage jewelry. Yeah. So kind of sad, but, you know, them's the breaks. It's, you know, I spent $5 to learn something new, so make of that what you will. I still kind of like it. I think if I see another brooch that doesn't have, like, you know, green gunk on it, maybe I will definitely get it again and, you know, take another chance on it. You never know. If it wasn't covered in green gunk, I'd say it would probably be worth maybe $20 to $30. So there you go. Here's my small joyful thing for the day. Thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.